everyone. I'm Daniel Corey coming at you from DangerKatts Central, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 11 of Makers, where I speak with artists who shape and make culture. I'd like to introduce this week's guest, actor, producer, dancer, voiceover artist, all-around amazing human, Laurel Harris. Hey, Laurel.
Yay, hi.
Hey there. All right, man. So Laurel Harris is an award-winning producer and actress, best known for an on-screen role that we will be discussing soon, and loved by young girls worldwide for the American Girl film Sage Paints the Sky opposite Jane Seymour. Her extensive TV credits include ABC, NBC, CW, Disney, and feature films with Starz, Paramount, and Fusion. As a producer, Laurel has garnered an Emmy Award from the Heartland chapter, as well as multiple, is it NATOA? Do I say it like that? Or N-A-T-O?
You got it, yeah, NATOA.
Yeah. So she's got multiple NATOA and Telly Awards. She's worked with many notable figures, including Nobel Peace Laureates that we will soon be discussing, while traveling the world to film their stories and work alongside teams from BBC and PBS. During these adventures, Laurel developed a passion for creating media that highlights underserved populations under her Laurel Leaf Productions banner. Such an impressive resume. And without further ado, Laurel Harris, how are you?
Thank you, Daniel Corey. I'm fabulous. I'm a little amazed at that introduction. Thank you.
Oh, well, you know, that's your life. You actually gave me that. So that's all real, you know.
I know, but when you say it, it just has so much more gravitas when you speak it out loud like that.
Yes. And full disclosure, if you hadn't guessed, Laurel and I are good friends. So, but you know, as I always say, it's not like this is hard-hitting journalism here. This is it's an arts discussion. It's an arts discussion. So us being friends.
Yes, it is the makers. I love it.
That's right. That's right. We are makers, all of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's so good to have you on the show, Laurel. I'm glad to see you again. And
so good to be here. I've loved all the other shows I've watched, so I'm excited. I'm honored.
Oh, thank you.
You're so freaking talented, my friend. So
stop it. Stop it.
No, stop.
Well, we don't want to make the audience sick with us
I know.
friend chat too much. So I'm going to jump in here and just ask you the first question that I ask of all my guests on the show. What sort of art do you make? And what do you think is your role in shaping culture at large?
Wow. That is such a heavy-duty question, Daniel, right out of the gate.
It's the point. Yeah, this is how we're orientating this entire discussion. So
I know. What sort of art do I make? You know, I feel like I make art every day. And I feel like that's part of our work here as humans, and especially as artists, is to recognize what we do every day that is art and to see art in it. You know, if I'm walking down the street and I see art in the way the light hits the trees and casts its shadow over the sidewalk, I get excited. You know, that to me is art. If I see a glimmer in somebody's eye that I'm talking to, that's art. So
I'm sure you see that a lot.
They're everywhere. Well, you know.
Continue.
But me personally, okay, to get to the point, I do think that I contribute art as a storyteller. I think that's my main job, whether it's with my voice as a voice actor, or if it's as an actor, or, you know, used to be more as a dancer, now more producing too. I think all of that has to do with storytelling. Mm-hmm. It really comes down to what's the emotion that I want to portray or bring across, or the story that I want to tell in that as well, so that people are moved, people experience something new, they learn something new, there's an educational aspect, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's all about storytelling, which is a huge honor. You know, when you look at the history of storytelling, mm-hmm. for thousands of years, mm-hmm. those people have always fascinated me. I wish I could go back in time and sit around campfires and watch the Native Americans or whoever tell stories. You know, those I think were our ancestors that I bow down to in our lineage.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
And telling stories just forms the fabric of culture.
Yeah.
Created culture.
Like and it's constantly shifting. I mean, just when I think I've got maybe a little tiny bit of it down, mm-hmm. it's moving. You know, it's like, well, that's passé, or that doesn't work anymore, or you know, you got to come up with something better or a different way to tell it. Mm-hmm. And God knows everybody's doing it in a way through social media nowadays. So
yeah, that's making it. the landscape is constantly shifting.
Yeah.
Because of social media, right?
Yeah. So isn't that the beauty of it and the challenge at the same time? Because we have to be more appreciative of each other and we have to learn to listen a lot better to each other's stories, because there can be that tendency to think, well, my story is the only story, so you've got to listen to it. But no, the fabric is so interwoven, it's so complex, and there's so many to listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, yeah.
the balance, storyteller and listener.
Yeah, and I think like from like where we're coming from, and from the people that everybody that I have on the show are coming from, is a unique place, in that we kind of we have a reach that other people don't in a different way. Like everybody has global reach now because of social media.
Yeah.
But I think that you and me, and then like Alex and Dennis of Bat Farm, and Marie and Andy of Kiev, and Julie Garnier, some of our close friends that I've all had on the show, we've all kind of gotten to this a little bit. We've touched this upper percentile by getting into forms of media that not everybody can get into, because we have spent our lives practicing this storytelling art, right?
Yeah, you're right. You know, it's humbling, and I don't ever take it for granted. I don't ever take it for granted. And I'm always reminded in one way or another, like I'm constantly amazed when I get somebody that reaches out, maybe overseas, you know, in the UK or some, wherever, and says, hey, I just saw your work and I'm able to connect with you. And this is so cool. And it's really humbling, you know?
Yeah.
And like you were saying, just to sidetrack a little bit, when I did Stage Paints the Sky with Jane Seymour, and we did the big red carpet with all these little girls coming out to see the film, and just the look in their eye, you know, because they were part of this grandiose film that was coming out that meant so much to them, and these dolls meant so much to them. And so to see that in their eyes, I was like, oh, now I get a feel for the reach that we have as artists, you know, in the work that we do.
Yeah.
This is one segment, you know, with kids, but it goes across every demographic.
Yeah. It's especially, you know, with kids, it's like, you know, what we do being on a stage or whatever, we can make a really big difference. You know, I was my friend Marie, who is part of Kiev with Andy, she and I were doing these shows at a local theater. Like, she's part of this company that books these tours of young people, like high school classes that will come to California to go to theme parks and do different things and different cultural events. They would go to this theater, and like Marie and her improv troupe would do some comedy, and then they'd have a magician come out, and then they have a musician come out and play. And so I would come over and do those shows when I could, and play and sing guitar. And I always have a hard time telling this story, but like I did this song, Rain in the Summertime. It's sung by The Alarm, that I love. And you know, I got the kids to sing along with me, which was kind of cool. This song came out in 1986. I have a bunch of 17-year-olds singing it. This little girl comes up. She's probably 16 or something. She's like, "Thank you for doing that. That was my cousin's favorite song." And yeah,
in that moment, she was just a puddle inside, I bet. Yeah.
she was glowing with love and warmth. You know, it was like she apparently had lost somebody she loved, but you know, in that moment, she was just glowing with warmth and love.
Yeah, and that's what we work for.
Yeah, and the fellow that was our magician for the evening, he came up to me. He's like, you never know what
Right.
you're going to say.
You never know.
That's going to, you know, change their lives, and you know, better.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's, you know, and it's a real privilege to be a maker, isn't it? To be able to do that for folks. And we have a responsibility, and we use our powers for good, right?
Exactly. And those are the people I respect all the more, you know, those that do use their superpowers for good. Then it's such a huge responsibility, you know, to honestly be at any level. But then when you get to a certain level where you can really make impact in society and culture at large. Yeah. And so that, you know, to another point too, I think that's why over the years, really quickly, I developed an attitude where if somebody comes up to me and they say, "Oh, did you know about so-and-so, somebody famous?" And, you know, they're a real jerk, or they're not really that great or whatever. I never, ever take that at face value, because we're people, you know, we're experiencing day-to-day stuff just like everybody else. And that, not to compare myself with people, you know, at that level, but it's just, life is life, you know, and when you're taking on that responsibility, taking on that mantle and moving forward with your art,
Yeah.
And some may like it and some may not. And then you're having an off day. I mean, there's just so many elements.
Yeah.
So I give people a lot of breathing room in this industry across the board, whatever part of entertainment they're involved in, just because as long as, well, I have more respect, like I said, if they really keep their eye on the prize of just recognizing the power of what they do and the impact that it has.
Yeah, a lot of times stories you hear about, not a lot of times, but sometimes, like when you famous people, like maybe A-list people, that might be actually cool people. They might have their moments, but James Cotton is a friend of ours. He told me a story. He worked on a film. He produced this movie, and he played he was in a scene, played a role in it, and it was with an A-list actress. And he said when he was first introduced to her, that she just turned off and did not speak to him at all, and was just and it just seemed so mean. But then he said, we did the scene together, and then after that we were like best friends. She took me, introduced her dogs to me and stuff like that. It was like she was cautious,
because people can turn it on and turn it off. That's part of acting,
Yeah.
And I think,
when she first met him, she's like, I don't know if this is a good person or not. But then when they were colleagues, it was okay. And so then she was her authentic self after that.
You never know. And I think musicians can be like that too.
Mm-hmm.
They can be really inward maybe, or really focused on what they're doing. I know you've met a ton like that. And then after the gig's over or whatever, they can open up. I mean, it just,
Yeah, so sometimes those bad impressions. But then sometimes they're jerks. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
But not always. Not always. Cool. Well, let's see here. Let's get back into some of these questions here.
Oh boy.
When did you first know you want to be a performer?
That's a great question. I think I was probably about 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, for some reason, that magical age of 6, has butterflies around it and hearts and stuff in my mind. It's really cheesy, because I think that's when I decided that I wanted to start dancing, and I had this idea that I wanted to be a ballerina. And my girlfriend, who was a year ahead of me, was taking dance lessons at the YMCA, and I was like, I want to do that. And so, I think that's when it started. Of course, I always say my mother thought it was when I was 2, because I was apparently very flamboyant as a child. I don't remember, but that's what she said. So
turn that music on, and you were the first kid.
Oh yeah. I was every part of the Nutcracker. I was every character. I had the tiara. I had the whole 9 yards.
Oh, little Laurel in a tiara.
Little Laurel and a whole lot of wands and tutus and everything else, until I thought, this is not going to work. This is not going to be for me. Okay. Yeah.
So what wasn't for you? The tiaras?
No, I still wanted the tiaras. Not anymore, but I did back then. No, I just, as we all started growing, I developed hips, and I developed all this, this body that was not a ballerina body at the time. And I just couldn't keep up with that level of competition. At the time it was, I was training with a Russian teacher who was very strict, and it was very old-fashioned ballerina training. And so I went as far as I could. And then actually what ended up happening, and this is the truth, is that I started getting injured. My first we were actually training for the Nutcracker, and I did a move and I slipped and fell and really damaged my ankle. And then after that, I got several more injuries, and that just became apparent that it was really hard to recover and get back into that swing, and go full speed ahead. But I will say, underneath all of that, the entire time, I knew what I really wanted to do was act. And I was terrified to do it. And so I'd get up on the stage and I think, I can do this. If I can move my body, and my body is my instrument, and I can create scenes and express emotion and move people through my physical movements, that's okay. I can hide behind that, because if I have to speak, if I have to use my voice, God help us all, I'm going to be a mess. I'm just going to die a slow, painful death on the stage.
Oh.
I was just so terrified. And then I think I had a teacher in high school who, that's probably the turning point, where she just really believed in me and said, no, you can do this. You got something, kid, and I tried to hide behind it again. And I thought, I'll just choreograph the high school musicals. That's what I'll do. I'll be the choreographer. But I really wanted to be on stage. And so I got to audition, and eventually I got a lead in a show. And then I got another lead. By the way, the very first musical I did,
Yeah.
I, as a choreographer, was The Music Man.
Okay. Yeah.
Great show, but yeah. Anyway, went on to
What did you play the lead?
wasn't my greatest work, let's just say that. But I knocked it out of the park as hard as I could. And then yeah, once I got a taste of that, being on the stage and acting, it was like, oh yeah, I can't go back. I
First one you played the lead in.
gotta work this out. The first one I got a lead in, I think, was JB. It was a play called JB, and it was based on the Book of Job. It was
Job, yeah. It's on
yeah,
Verse. Yeah, I know that one.
yeah,
Wow.
a Simon play, and it was so much fun. So I got to play Sarah, his wife, and it was like juicy because I got all these emotional scenes too.
Wow.
Really
Yeah.
fun.
Like curse God and die.
Yes, exactly.
His Job supportive wife.
Yeah, and I got to cry every night. It was so rewarding. It was so cathartic.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the first musical you did as a performer, like as a lead?
I didn't really get a whole lot of leads in musicals, to be honest with you. Like I said, I did more choreography, and then I went straight from there into acting. So
Okay. All
then we
right.
did a version of 12 Angry Women instead of 12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
And I got to play an older woman who was like, this, again, I was 18 at the time, and I think I got to play an 80-year-old. And I was like, this is acting. Like, if I get to cry every night in JB and I get to, be an 80-year-old woman, I'm going to win an Oscar tomorrow.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah. I just totally outed myself. Should we delete that part?
No.
Yeah.
What how did you out yourself just now? What do you mean, like, with as far as like?
Just it's kind of embarrassing to go down that lane, that's all.
Oh, I see.
Fun. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I was in high school, I did like Oklahoma and Our Town and those.
The classics.
Yeah, we all did. We all went there. We all did that. So no need to be embarrassed by it. Oh. So, what do you think drives people to be actors, to be in the entertainment business? I mean, we've heard a little bit about your experience, but in general, what do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think we have it within us to be innate storytellers. I think there's just, it was just so natural for me that I thought everybody had that. I thought everybody wanted to tell stories because I also came from a family of storytellers, even though none of them wanted to go on and be actors at all. That's what we did. I mean, we sat around the table every night after dinner and told stories, I came from a pretty awesome family in that regard. And then the holidays or any chance we got to sit around, we just told stories, and we told the same stories over and over and over again. But, if we ever had somebody new come into the family and sit down and listen, they were like fresh bait, we got to like try them out again and try it with a different angle or try it with a different, emotion or context and see if it worked, So I feel like that was my training ground. And my mom was a natural storyteller, and her mother. And so I came from this long line of them. And boy, I'm getting way off tangent, but I think that's the essence of actors. We want to tell the stories, but we also want to see if there's a way that we can connect to people emotionally. And there's all kinds of room in there, like, can we help heal a situation? Can we maybe be a little cathartic in helping them move through something emotionally? Maybe we can be supportive. I mean, there's so many different angles. I mean, it sounds really kind of evil is an intense word, but it's honest. I think that we really want to work in the emotional body, and I think that, to me, as I get older and I recognize how I can contribute to a greater society as a greater whole, is how can I bring characters to life that will emotionally connect with people to help bring healing or understanding or education or inspiration. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I think we could probably get a little something from it ourselves in the way of therapy. Whatnot.
There is definitely that element. I remember the first film that I worked on that I got the lead on. Oh gosh, I shouldn't have said that. I just totally gave it away. Anyway, there was somebody that I was working with on the film that said something to me that he would never give up his dealing with depression. Like, he would never go on antidepressants or anything like that. because he felt like it would take that away from him. Those demons, they were really cathartic, you know, and therapeutic to work with. And
Yeah.
so I don't say this in an ill way. I don't say this with any malintent, but I totally get that. I've met some of the other actors that feel the same way. You know, very cathartic what we do, or at least it can be. So,
but some people really should take their medication, though. I think we want to put that message out there too.
I am not naming any names yet, Daniel. No, I'm not.
I'm just saying that for the sake of people's safety out there.
Yeah.
That's all. But right. No, I get that. I get it. Yeah. But moving on, I got I often introduce you to people as Emmy Award winner Laurel Harris. Or I just call you that in casual conversation, or I answer the phone and say, "Is this Emmy winner Laurel Harris?" I really do that. So,
you do.
Tell us about the time that you won an Emmy Award.
You're just stroking my ego. Thank you very much. So it was a really cool thing. I was working as a freelancer, and I got approached by this woman who worked with or was aware of a really serious issue at the time, which was teens becoming addicted and or becoming homeless. And these were teens who lived in a fairly affluent area, a fairly affluent county. Yeah. And so it's something that was just so surprising to a lot of us. It was like, wait a minute, this area has one of the highest rates of homelessness for teens in the state. How can that possibly be? And so the more I started researching it, it was shocking and horrifying and yet compelling. And I was like, I got to do something about this. So I was going to do one PSA. And then I went back to the manager at the time that I was working with, and I said, you know what, there's so many stories here. I have to do like a series. So I created a series of PSAs with my buddy Steve, who was my camera guy and partner in crime. And so I wrote them, directed them, produced them, and Steve, he did some co-writing, or not co-writing, but co-producing as well, and shot them. And we just submitted to the Emmys because people said these are really great, and thought, yeah, well, it's a long shot. And sure enough, it struck a chord, and they were well done too. It wasn't because they were well done, but yeah, it was just all that to say, it was really heartening to know that the project that we won for, because it was my first big win like that.
Yeah.
And so that was rewarding, but also to know that it was for that topic and that subject matter was just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, at the last minute, my family got to come and be there too. So it was, and like I said, I wasn't expecting to win. So to have them there, I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Very special.
It was incredibly special.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those frozen moments in my mind forever. Yeah.
Winner Laurel Harris.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You're the only Emmy winner that I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to introduce you. No, I'm kidding.
You have a club, you know all of them. So
right. Yeah.
We hang out,
Right.
But now, no. What's that?
No, go ahead.
No, okay. I was just say, around the time we first met, you were starring in a certain film.
Yes.
With a pretty major director, some pretty major co-stars, and I was lucky enough to be able to sit with you in the theater and watch you be pretty major yourself. So, tell us what that movie was, how you got the role, a little about working with your co-stars. Just give us, just dish.
Ooh. Okay, get comfortable because I could talk for hours on this one. It was so fun. So the film is Odd Thomas. It was based on the novels by Dean Koontz, who were, everybody knows Dean Koontz pretty much, national bestseller. And this was a series of books on this character, Odd Thomas. So Stephen Sommers was the director. He had worked out a deal with Dean Koontz to do a series, and they were really hoping for a trilogy at least, because there's 7 books in the series. So they were thinking, for sure 1, pretty sure we're going to go for 3, and then we'll go from there.
Sommers had directed like the Mommy movies.
The Mummy, yeah, and Help Think with Hugh Jackman, and yeah, pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So, and Brandon Fraser, right, from The Mummy.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway, I got a call from my agent. Hey, there's this really great part, you got to audition for. And at the time, they wanted me. There was some stipulations around it. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that. I don't think I can do it. And a friend of mine was like, are you kidding? Because he had been keeping an eye on the trades and was like, I think if this is what I think it is, you need to do this audition. So I dropped everything. I got to back up a little bit. So when I actually did the audition, there was this part that it called for me to be this raging, screaming lunatic woman.
Mhm.
And I had just gotten out of a fight with my then boyfriend. And I was in this mode of just like, how am I going to do this audition? Because I'm so angry right now. You haven't heard this story?
No, I don't think I know this one.
So yeah, so I go to do that and it was perfect because I just channeled all that emotion, right? And just boom, nailed it out. Didn't care because I was in the state of just like, oh, I'm so angry with this guy at this moment. So I just laid it out, walked away, and was like, okay, whatever. Next thing I know, I get this call and they said, casting loved it. They actually want to know if you'll audition for this bigger part. And I was like, okay. And they said, but you have to have, and I forget what they were, but it was like 5 stipulations. Like you had to have worked with A-list actors and show us some of that material. You have to be available to get to, I forget what it was. Anyway, there were like all these things that I was like, I qualify for like one of those. So why are you even asking me? I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste their time. Just tell them thank you, but no. Mm-hmm. So that's when my friend was like, get down there, get to this audition like now. Mm-hmm. So
go. Good advice, good friend, man.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, what have I got to lose? So I had done all this work for the audition. I'd done all this prep work with what I had at hand, knowledge-wise, about what it was. And I show up, and thankfully, the casting director at the time knew me, appreciated me. I appreciated her. We had kind of a friendly relationship. We did have a friendly relationship. And so I do the first take and I lay it out. And she's like, no. She says, so I had thought in the scene that this person I was playing with, like I had put all this stuff together, that this person had died. Like it was just this massive thing. And my husband was dead. And she's like, no, your husband's very much alive. Like he's going to come into the next scene and talk to you. And this is that. And it went like a whole 180 of what I had expected.
Yeah.
So it was, talk about being spontaneous and being on the fly, just going with it. So I was like, okay. So I had to change everything, did the best I could. I walked out there. I literally drove home and I was laughing the whole way home going, if they hire me for this, they're like Stevie Wonder. Like they can't see this. No offense to Stevie Wonder, but you know what I mean? They're like, they're high if they're going to hire me for this. And the next thing I know, I get a call and they said they want to offer you the part. And I was blown away because, again, when I found out it was Willem Dafoe, that I was playing his wife. Mm-hmm. And then Anton Yelchin was Odd Thomas.
Yeah.
Hugo Mbatha-Raw was playing a major role as well. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty freaking cool. So then to fast forward to the film comes out, and I had been in and out of Los Angeles a ton, didn't have a whole lot of friends established there yet. And I meet you, we become friends right away. And I was like, hey, do you want to come to this thing?
Yeah, that was.
You want to come see this screening of the little film I did?
Yeah, I know. I was just, it was a Friday night. I got the email.
Yeah.
And, it was raining. It never rains here in LA, but it was raining outside. But like, it was really early, and Brendan was just kind of dozing off on the couch, and there was not a lot going on. I got this email, and I'm like, "Did you ever go down?" Because in the theater was walkable down the street.
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever go down the street and watch this movie that this girl that just met is in? This could be a bunch of friends there and stuff. She's like, yeah, it's fine. And she was out.
Yeah, and then I remember you sitting next to me and turning like every other minute and going, "Is that you?"
Yeah. There's a so everybody needs to go watch the movie. It's on Hulu, and I'm gonna if you're watching this on my website, Is it on Hulu or Amazon? Anyway,
It's on Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon. Okay.
Yeah.
A link to it on the website here. So if anybody wants to go watch it, they can. But
Yeah.
there's a very, and I won't say too much to give it away, but there's a very funny sequence between you and Willem as husband and wife trying to get to a certain moment, and the phone keeps ringing. It's very funny. And at one point, I turned to you and I go, "What are you doing?" Just joking. It's actually cute. It's a very cute. It's played cute. It's not like
I was all embarrassed, like I'm sort of turning red now. Yeah.
But how was Willem?
I mean, realizing that I'm with Willem Dafoe, you know, and you're doing this film, it's like, okay, wow, I really gotta focus.
Mm-hmm. So, how was he? How was he to work with?
Oh, he's phenomenal. He's so amazing, and it really hit me when we were in between scenes and we were sitting out on the back patio of this place, of this gorgeous house, taking a break, and we're just, you know, shooting the breeze, and he's telling stories, and all of a sudden it dawns on me, he's telling this story about Platoon. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just like came full circle, because I remember sitting in the theater and watching that movie and watching him.
He's the poster, falling down on his knees. He's the poster for that movie. That's iconic. Yeah.
And then going on to the Oscars that year. And I remember watching that performance and thinking, if this guy doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, you know, like where did he come from? Like he just got dropped from the heavens, and it was so moving. And so to sit there and, you know, like I said, come full circle and be across from him, and he's telling stories, and I'm just going,
it's pretty amazing.
Say more, say more. Like I can't get enough. This is so fun. Yeah. So he was incredible. Yeah.
You told me how you went to a screening. He was at a screening kind of more recently, and you went up to talk to him, and he like remembered you immediately. Like,
yeah, because I mean, I haven't seen him since then, since we obviously did the shoot. And so I saw that there was this event where he was going to be speaking. I thought, you know, I'd love to go up. And his wife too is fantastic, by the way. You know, when we hung out and went to dinner, but you know, that was a while ago. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go and just see how he's doing, see if he remembers. And also, mind you, I was blonde at the time when we shot the film. And so I thought, you know, it's been a little while. All of us have aged a little bit, and my hair is darker. So I don't know if he's going to remember. Mm-hmm. And I go up afterwards to go talk to him, and there's this long line of people, and he's just so gracious. You know, it's so typical of him. He's just one at a time. He's taking everybody as they come and giving them all the time they want. And then it gets to me, and I walk up, and I'm fully ready to say, hi, I'm Laurel. Do you remember me? And I didn't even hardly get anything out. He just stood there. And, you know, like he was taken aback for a minute, and you could see his mind going a mile a minute. And he's like, what are you doing here?
Nice.
I was like, hey, how's it going? So that was so fun.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Cool. Yeah. So that was quite an adventure that you got to be part of, you know.
Yeah, totally.
You know, a huge movie. It's a huge title, being a Dean Koontz title and everything. And so it was pretty neat, you know, and meeting you right out of the gate, and you know, you got this thing happening. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Sadly, Anton has passed, as we know, so that was the end of that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yeah, great to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna fast forward a couple of years. So, you know, you and I have ended up collaborating quite a bit because you're so very massively talented. I will take any opportunity to work with you.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
Thanks. But back in 2017, you assumed a role as one of the characters from one of my comics. So tell the audience a little about that project, and which is stretched out over a few years. If you're following me on social media, you recognize Laurel right away here. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, how cool was that to play the lead role, Brenda Bloodworth, in the comic series by Daniel Corey, Bloodworth. How cool was that? And I just remember the look you had on your face too when you told me that it was named after your wife, Brenda, and I was like, oh, so cool. That was really meaningful too. So the way I remember it, I don't know if you remember it this way, but we had gone to see, wasn't it Band of Horses, I think?
Of course, at the Greek,
At the Greek Theater, yeah.
And concert buddies.
Yeah, for sure. That was, love Greek Theater. So anyway, we were talking because you had some upcoming meetings where you were pitching the series, I think. Okay. And we were talking about getting
There's so
I
many,
know, it feels like
so many of those come and gone. So
and I was like, you know what, we need the visuals behind this to really make it pop. And so anyway, one thing led to another. I was like, we should get Jesse on board for photography, and we should get Mary Kate on board for hair and makeup. And they were pals of mine and soon became pals of yours. And yeah, we went out and shot that thing. And then your Photoshop skills put it over the edge. But
so yeah, well, thank you.
And you got some major traction, right?
Yeah, we got a lot of attention for it. So, you know, basically what we did was I worked with artist Chris Finolio on the title, and he did all the character designs and everything. So everything was based on Chris's art, and Chris has gone on from there to do so many things. Like he's drawn 2 volumes of Goosebumps for IDW and Scholastic, and he's actually the first artist to draw an original Goosebumps story that wasn't adapted from one of the original books. You know, he drew the like young X-Files, like Mulder as a teenager series for IDW Comics.
Yeah,
Star Wars Adventures. He drew some Jedis and lightsabers.
Yeah.
So
he knows his stuff.
he's done a lot of really amazing things. Yeah, so we shot some. Jesse shot you as this character. We costumed you, and Mary Kate made you up and made you look great as Agent Bloodworth from the comic. And so I basically took a lot of you and I placed you in different backgrounds to look, because the comic is got a very Minority Report, Blade Runner kind of feel. So I placed you into a lot of very stark environments, and you're there with your gun, you're looking all mean and stuff. And it's funny because like people will see these pictures of you for months and months, and then when they meet you, they're like, they don't recognize you because you're just so good in real life, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it was basically just like a photo series that we did, and I did a project. I did a article on it on my website here, and so I'm going to link to that in the text below this video here, so you can see Laurel as Agent Bloodworth. But yeah, that was really fun. And every once in a while, I'll still pop out a new picture and post it to Instagram or something, tag you.
I remember coming over to your house too with you and Brenda, and you were like, okay, you have to learn how to hold the gun. Like you really have to know what you're doing.
I actually,
I'm taking classes. Like, I think I know what I'm doing. You're like, no.
Well, I really research myself because I'm not a gun expert, you know, but I studied up on basic, just like how to hold the gun, how to treat a gun, how to aim a gun, you know, all these sort of very basic techniques. And that was the thing, is like when I showed you how to hold the gun, just the very basic, you know, the very basic pose for the technique for how to hold it and how to aim it and all this. And I saw you suddenly settle in and become the character. And I was just, boom, man, she is good.
That gives me chills. Well, and you had given me that whole write-up too about her backstory and her whole, you know, the whole character arc. And that's another thing I appreciate is men who can write really good women's roles. Because Brenda Bloodworth, I think, is fully fleshed out as a character. You know, she has a full arc of just who she is and how she becomes, you know, goes from A to B and becomes this character that is so rich, and we can all go, wow, that's somebody I can relate to on some level in some way, and is really cool. So yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, I went through, because my first couple books I did is this book called Prophet. It was kind of a supernatural spaghetti western, and then I did my Moriarty series for Image. So I had spent several years immersed in these worlds of these very stark men, you know. And I'm like, I want to trade up and do something else. And I was like, you know, because like as a writer of comics and stuff, you think of yourself kind of as a director or actor, and I'm like, I'm going to step into the roles of a female protagonist here and make this happen. And it just frees you up because, you know, thinking so different and bigger. Like, okay, I got to write this Clint Eastwood like guy, which is great to do. Right. But like, you don't want to just do just that. You know, you want to expand. It's just like being an actor. You want to play the 80-year-old woman. You know. Or you want to be
or the musical or But who doesn't want to be a superhero? That's what I'm saying. I mean, it was totally addictive. Like just that time with you. Now I go, oh, okay, I can totally get why people want to do a whole Marvel series, you know? Like, all they want to do, because it's super addictive.
I totally see you being like on one of those shows, like coming in the room.
Thank you.
That and everybody slams against the wall, you know? Absolutely could see that.
If anybody's listening,
Yes, yes.
Right.
I know. And
Never
like
hear.
we're seeing you now, and you're so nice and lovely, and you have this wonderful smile, but you can turn it on and get
And yeah,
me to
I think it's called acting. I think that's
yeah,
what it's
it's
called.
called
Yeah.
acting. That's right. Awesome.
I'll take a lesson or something.
Maybe you should look into that. Well, you've traveled the world working with Peace Jam. Tell us about some of the places you've been and notable people
Yeah.
you've met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it sounds so trite, but I'm just going to say it. It was completely, utterly life-changing
Mm-hmm.
working with them. Hands down, some of the biggest life-changing moments in my life, my lifespan. So Peace Jam is an organization that works with Nobel laureates and youth.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, when I was working with them at the time, they pair the youth with the Nobel laureates from around the world so that they can create peace projects. And the kids can create peace projects. And it's just incredible what they do. So the first time that they had this big shindig, where they had this big anniversary celebration, they brought all the Nobels from all over the world that they were working with to one place. And at the time, my partner was working with them a ton as a camera person and sound guy and editor and all this stuff. So I was like, how can I be involved? This is so cool. So he brought me on kind of to assist him at first, and then it just kind of grew from there. And I became a producer and worked with him in other capacities. So the Nobels that they brought together were plentiful and included people like the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Betty Williams and Mairead Corrigan Maguire from Ireland, and just Rigoberta Menchú from the Mayan culture. And so just a really incredible group of people, Shireen Ebadi from Iran. So being in their presence was just enough for me to go, wow, I now get it when you're with people that just have that something special that is so magnetizing and inspiring that you think, I want to be a better person just for being around them. So fast forward to many years later, I had still been working with Peace Jam on and off as a voiceover artist and still doing some producing. And they said, well, we want to do this whole new series on the Nobels. We want to do this documentary series, and we're going to work with the BBC and PBS eventually. And I'm truncating everything. So we then got to tour the world, and I got to go to some of these places and actually be with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in India and Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa and in Ireland and some of these other places. So it was pretty, profound, feels like an understatement.
Yeah.
I don't say this lightly, but they all made an impact on me in a positive way in one way or another. The experiences around them were incredibly impactful. Jose Ramos Huerta, who was the president of East Timor at the time, which was the smallest country on the earth at the time, just this little country outside of Australia, basically, and we flew down there to interview him. And, here we are, my partner and I, in this old Toyota truck bouncing around these back streets, dirt roads of this country, trying to chase this Nobel because he was so busy. And we, it's third world country, so it wasn't super easy at the time to get a hold of him. And we were just flying down these dirt roads, and people would literally come out of their homes, their not their village homes, I'll just say that, and they'd come out like they had never seen, again, I was blonde at the time, they had never seen blonde hair, or a woman in the back of a truck flying down these roads. And so they'd come out and the little kids would wave and they'd get so excited, and the other adults would just kind of stand there in awe. And I felt like some sort of weird celebrity, because I thought, it's not why I'm here, but talk about heartwarming. We were there to help people learn how to forest, learn more about deforesting, and sanitation practices and really honorable stuff. So that was life-changing. But then to be with these people like His Holiness and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who all they do is laugh. That's my memory of them anyway. They can be very serious, but they are so quick to laugh and so quick to find the levity in a situation and to bring levity to any room that they're in. It's just infectious. It's absolutely astounding.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a lot. Was there a point that I was supposed to hit?
That's you hit all the points. I mean, this is
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about makers here. You're talking about making, but you're making on the most global level here.
Yeah.
You know, with I mean, Desmond Tutu. I mean, there's a name we all heard on the news every night in back in the 80s, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and of course, the Dalai Lama is the name where, you know, everybody knows. And that
Yeah.
you've been in the room with and met these and spoken to these men and to Sharin and all these other wonderful people. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that really puts you. I mean, you're a maker on the world stage for sure.
Well,
Just
it's
by
very
telling
kind
your
of you to say
story.
that. I don't mean to sound overly humble, but I really do want to pass that on to Peace Jam because they were really the ones that have, made huge inroads. And just to be a small part of that process is really honorable. And so, anyway, fast forward to, I think what you alluded to in the intro was they came back to me a couple years ago and said, hey, we're doing this new series and we want to do these documentaries on each of the Nobels. And, I had stopped producing with them quite a while back, but I was still, like I said, doing voiceover for them. So they came to me and said, we think you would be the perfect person to do the narration for His Holiness, the Dalai Lama's film. And I was like, what? I love him. I would be so honored. Yeah, I just adore him. So we did that. Didn't know, where the film would go, but they threw it into the submissions for the Venice International Film Festival. And at first, when they told me, I was like, "Oh, great! That's like right over the hill. It'll take me 30 minutes to get there from Los Angeles."
Not Venice, California, Laurel.
They were like, "No, Italy." Oh, that Venice. Oh, okay.
The real one.
That's going to take a little more than 30 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit. So, Venice is what, in the top 5, top 3, arguably the top 5 international film festivals in the world. It's the oldest film festival in the world. It is the oldest, the original. So it's nothing to sneeze at. It's pretty exciting. And we got to go there and we had a screening. We had, His Holiness was not able to come, but we had lots of dignitaries show up in his place, and including another Nobel that I really love, who was Betty Williams. And later she passed on, so it was the last chance I got to be with her, and that moment to share that with her was just, I'll never forget getting onto the red carpet with Betty Williams. And I mean, that's just amazing. So if you look up her story.
Venice.
And it's Venice, yeah. So that was
Lama film.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular. And we so we all piled into this car to go to the premiere, and we pull up, and I remember turning to the producer and saying, wow, what's this film? Because there's all these people standing outside waiting to get in. She's like, that's our film. Oh, there's this line of people around the block, and people would come from all over. We had this guy that had come all the way from, it wasn't Thailand, Sweden, I think, or something like that. And he came in and he brought his, not a guitar, but a musical instrument equivalent. And he said, hey, I wrote this song and I'd like to perform it, for you all in honor of this occasion. And it was like, yes, please. So he played that, and people had flags, the Tibetan flags, literally, that they pulled out and stood in front of, and then held, and the white, what's the term for it? The shawls that the Dalai Lama presents. So it was pretty spectacular, just to be in that moment and a part. Like I said, I just feel like my part is so minuscule, and to be a part of that grander message, again, storytelling, it's pretty spectacular. So
your part is bigger than you think.
No, thank you. But then that was 2019, and then of course 2020 happens, and they come back to me. I think it was early in 2020, I think, before COVID, and said, okay, so this next film we want to do is on Shireen Ebadi of Iran. And I was like, awesome. Love Shireen. So love her story. She's phenomenal. And first Muslim woman ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize, a lawyer and just badass activist in her own right. So again, we're feeling really gracious because we think we're going to be able to go back to Venice. And then of course, COVID happens. So that was all kind of put on hold, but
the film did still premiere at Venice.
It did premiere, and we're going to see. I don't know how much I can say at this point because we're going to see if we can resubmit again, because it did actually get picked up for distribution. So that was great. And then, yeah, there's a lot of things up in the air, but we'll see if we can do more with it this year, since last year everybody was kind of awash with festivals.
You still had those two, but you had those two films under your belt. And here's the thing, people, if you go look at iTunes or IMDb or whatever, but if you go on your Apple TV right now, go to iTunes, go to movies and look up Dalai Lama scientist. And you look at the cast list. It says Dalai Lama, Laurel Harris.
Which is how it should be. His name should always be above mine.
I know, but here's the thing. You're second billed to the Dalai Lama in a internationally distributed film that premiered at Venice, and that's like,
yeah.
You know? So, man, you're a maker to the nth degree.
Well, thank you. It's very, very humbling to be associated with him and that whole group.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, that's what we do. You know, we try to get into these circles, and we work very hard. We put in the work. And then we work hard to get into these circles, and then you're taken in and accepted because you did the work. And then that's when you get to be part of these bigger things. That's when you get to work with Willem Dafoe. That's when you get to work with the Dalai Lama, you know?
Jane Seymour, a whole bunch of other ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And then exactly. And then we appreciate how far they've come and the paths that they've made that we get to follow in. You know, that's just an added bonus, because I think the work that we get to do is so great when we get to do it. And then when we get to do it with really amazing people, doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. The people that we get to work with are everything in a project.
Yeah. And you receive so much when you're working with those kind of people. And that's something like when I speak to students, I'm like, do the work and, you know, get to know people. And that's when you'll get the jobs because you've done the work. But then like be ready to give help, but also be ready to receive. And because like some people are bad at receiving, and it hurts them, you know. And
because people want to be able to give praise or give help or whatever, and if we can't receive, then we're stunting their gift.
Exactly. Because like if you're like, oh, you know, no, I'm not good enough, if somebody's willing to give, let them, you know. When it's a positive thing and a positive person, a positive situation, let them.
Right. That's the synergy. That's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of what we do and of humankind, really.
Yeah, and I try to practice that in life, you know. And you come into situations where somebody's determined to be nice and determined to do something good for you, and let them, you know, let them do it, you know.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and that's all part of the process.
Be better givers and receivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So absolutely. But we're going to get to the main thing now that we're here to talk about, because of all this giving and all this receiving that you've done, all this traveling of the world, all this working hard that you've done, all this being in the presence of, you know, Shirin and Desmond Tutu and Dalai Lama and all these folks. At the end of all this, now you've become, you know, very notable as a writer. You know, you're columnist for Backstage, and you're also the co-author of a new book that's coming out. And you know, it's not a new thing, you being a writer, but it seems like you have more recently been propelled into the spotlight for it. So tell us a little about your column in Backstage, and then tell us about the new book.
Writing is something I've done for a long, long time, but it's never been something that I just felt this compelling draw to, you know, that I felt like I have to be a writer like other people do. And so people that have that, I bow down to them, because I think writing is its own animal, you know, it's its own, with all the whims and magic and hardship in it, you know, it's its own beast. So I enjoy writing, but I didn't ever think of myself as a writer per se. But then I just kept getting these offers in 2020, and it being the year that it was really clear to me to really step back and say yes to what was coming through.
Receive.
That was, to receive. And that was part of I was very, on a different level, I was conscious that this was part of my growth, my evolution, to just say yes. So kind of a Shonda Rhimes thing, you know, but before I knew about Shonda Rhimes in the year of yes. So anyway, kept getting these offers to write, and I thought, okay, I'll follow through. And it was really an amazing year and experiment of just saying, okay, well then I don't know what I'm saying, because I don't consider myself to be, like I said, a professional writer per se. So really an opportunity to say what needs to come through me, what needs to be told, what story it needs to go out there. So that was amazing to really just stay open as a vessel and channel it in a sense. And before I know it, I feel really excited and honored to say Backstage said, yeah, we want to take you on as a contributing author, contributing writer. Thrive Global has also published some of my work. And then there's some others that are kind of in the works. And then this offer came from Seema Giri, who does this. Seema Giri is an author, but she's also created a summit around her next book. And we started talking, and it was one of those things where she said, I feel like we're supposed to work together, and I don't know what it is yet. And I said, me too. I totally get that feeling. And so we kept meeting and, saying, what's here? What needs to be fleshed out? And she said, well, I'm doing this next book, because she had done her first anthology and it had gone to international best-selling status and Break Free. And the series is a Break Free series. So this next one was called Break Free to Peace, Love, and Unity. And she said, do you want to be one of the writers in it, one of the co-authors? And I said, okay. Like, that sounds amazing, but I don't have a clue what to do, okay. All right, sure. So again, really cool experience to just let that flush through and think, okay, what do I have to offer the world from an acting perspective, from my years of experience as an actor? And the story came through in a really great way, sent it off to her, and she said, well, I think you could also MC this. And I said, you're right. So the book is actually going to launch internationally on February 26th. We're doing an international summit. And on the 26th, the book will launch. On the 27th is when we do the summit. And so if people want to join us, we would love it if you would like to come. Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, who's Deepak Chopra's brother, is going to be our main speaker. So he is phenomenal. He's going to be the main keynote speaker. And then after that, I've pulled in some friends of ours. Julie Garnier is going to be a keynote speaker as well. And then she's also going to, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's also going to sing. So she's going to give us some entertainment value, which is going to be awesome.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. And then my friend Wendy Braun.
What's that?
And then my friend Wendy Braun,
Okay.
who's recurring on Netflix's Atypical. She's been around and done a ton. I think she has over 90 IMDb credits or something like that. So 50 or 90, I think it's 90. Anyway, so she's going to be one of the keynotes as well. She's a phenomenal speaker in terms of positivity and uplifting and mantras and that kind of thing. So it should be a really cool event. We're looking forward to it. So I'll give you the link. And if people want to sign up, the first 24 to 48 hours, we're offering the book in the spirit of COVID and what's happening right now. We're offering the book for $1.99. So people can get the book for $1.99. And then our hope is it will really impact some positivity and some awareness around each other, and really supporting our own stories as storytellers.
That's great. Wonderful, Laurel.
Our unity, our peace, love, and unity.
Yeah. So cool. That's very exciting. And what's the date for that again? What's the title of the book?
So the title is Break Free to Peace, Love, and Unity. Okay. And then it's Seema Giri's International Book Launch and Summit. I'll send you the link. And it is February 26th is when the book goes live. And then February 27th is the summit. But if you log on in that first 24 to 48 hours, you can, like I said, get the book for $1.99.
Okay. All right. And we'll have info to link to all that on the site here below the video. If you guys check it out, I'll have all that for you.
Yeah. Cool.
And just the kind of the last thing, because this all kind of happened about the same time that you were actually written about rather prominently. Rather prominent publications. And they kind of, I don't know, the events to me look like they kind of happened side by side. You started writing for Backstage, you started writing for this book, and then suddenly you were being written about in what publication? About the Shireen Ebadi film.
That was Variety International.
You had a feature story all about you.
We had an exclusive. Yeah, that was pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you know what? It sounds a little woo-woo, but I started saying yes to opportunities and people said, well, that was around the Shireen film.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to get some press out about going to Venice again and for the film itself to really uplift that. And somebody said, well, if you could shoot for the stars, who would you go for? And I was like, Variety. Like, why wouldn't you go to Variety? Among others, there's a lot of great ones out there, but for some reason, Variety was just like, yeah, that's where I want to go. Yeah. And so we sent it off to one of the contacts we had, Variety in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Long story short, the guy that we sent it to said, I don't think you want to shoot for Variety Los Angeles, national. I think you want to go international with this. I was like, okay. So again, say yes. All right, well, who do I need to talk to? Yeah. So then we forwarded it to somebody internationally. That particular journalist that we got contacted for or with was on vacation. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, we're not going to make the deadline. Like, there's no way they're going to run our story because this person's on vacation by the time they get back. So somehow we got turned on to another journalist. Anyway, it was just like, oh my gosh, just keep saying yes, just keep going forward, just keep submitting, and you don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know if it's going to even get out there, but you never know. And sure enough, next thing I know, it was just crazy. I get this word from one of the top people in London at the Variety there that they not only ran it in Variety, but they ran it as an exclusive, and it was in Variety International. So that was pretty darn cool, I have to say.
Very proud of you for that.
Thanks.
It's wonderful.
It was really fun. Yeah.
Definitely. And again, back below on the text below this video here on my website on DangerKat.com. If you're watching it on the website, I'll have a link to that, to Laurel's feature in Variety. And you were also at the same time, what was the other site you were featured on? Authority.
Oh yeah, Authority magazine. But then that went through again Thrive Global. Which is pretty huge. Yeah, they've got a huge audience. So yeah, and that was another thing because I had done an interview again earlier in the year. They Authority magazine had said, "Hey, do you want to do that? We'd love to do an article on you." And I was like, "Okay." So we did this article, and then I had a contact there. And when I said, "Well, we're doing this Sharina Body film, which we really like to get some press out for because it's so noble," no pun intended. So anyway, another long story short. Came full circle because they came back to me and said, we want to do a full spread on this, with you as a producer, that story as well. And I was so blown away. It was like, okay, thank you. I receive.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, super cool.
Laurel, it's been so wonderful talking to you, and it's, it's some really nice points have come up about what it means to be a maker in talking to you today. And I think the main lesson that the audience watching today could come away with is working with an artist, that giving and receiving are both very important things. That, you give of yourself, you give of your heart, and you also put in the hard work. But then you're also, accepting help and accepting some of this other people's hard work, on your behalf. It's like Variety International didn't have to come back and. This person didn't have to spend, 2 hours, whatever, 3 hours writing an article about you, but they put that out there and you received it, and then your face and your name was on headlines all around the world, Variety International, and how wonderful is that?
Yeah, it is pretty wonderful, and it just feels full circle gratification with being a part of that film and a part of Shireen's message, and then to get on that global stage. Yeah, that way it just feels really rewarding. Yeah, for her, for the project, for everything about it.
Well, you are definitely making a difference in the world. I can
thank you
for your work. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, one more thing that I'll put out there for you. And this is what I do to everybody at the end.
Everybody, oh great.
So to close out today, I'm going to give you a challenge. Since you're a maker, I want to challenge you in the next few days. If you have the chance to make a unique, special, creative moment, I'd love for you just to share it with me. It could be a photograph or a burst of audio or video, just any kind of moment that you experience that you'd like to share with the Makers audience. If you happen on anything new and great you want to share, send it over. I'll post it to my audience as a special Makers moment. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be tomorrow or next week. It could be, 6 months from now, but just keep that in mind if you want to do a Makers moment.
Okay.
I'm ready to receive more from you.
My brain is spinning. I've got all kinds of ideas. We'll see what happens.
Well, good, good. Well, Laurel Harris, and you know why I more often call you by your first and last name.
You do that, Daniel Corey. I noticed that.
But I've never told you why. I'll tell you now.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what that is? That's how you talk to movie stars. You know, it's always Michelle Pfeiffer, or
right.
you know,
Like James Bond,
Angelina Jolie or whatever.
right.
You know.
Jane Seymour, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
Laurel
feel so
Harris.
special already.
Yeah, that's
Thank you, Daniel Corey.
absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and bless you. And you know, we're gonna have a good rest of this year. I just know it.
Really good.
Yeah.
It's already happening.
Absolutely. Well, you take care, and until next time,
Right.
you keep making, okay?
You too.
All right.
Blessings.
Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thanks.